Hey, it's JJ Conway. I'm super excited to be with you today. Some of you might wonder why I'm broadcasting in the middle of the day instead of tonight, because I normally broadcast Thursday nights, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. Well, here's the thing. I got a really great lesson for you tonight, but I'm going to need some indulgence, okay? So as you might have read in the intro to tonight's to this particular broadcast, tonight we're supposed to be talking about the myth of risk. That's our empowered entrepreneur. Every fourth Thursday is the empowered entrepreneur. Every first Thursday is fireside chat. Second Thursday is seven-figure business building. Third Thursday is real estate, where it all began. And then fourth Thursday is empowered entrepreneur. And so today we're supposed to be talking about the myth of risk. And here's the thing though. When I scheduled my plan for the year, my plan did not include Thursday night football games. And y'all know my commitment to my oldest son. He is in his eighth school because of my military career. And it's the only school that he's repeated for a third year in a row. Most are one and done. So the commitment that I made to him was that I would be at every game, every concert, every parent thing that I could possibly get to. And of course, I guess I shouldn't have counted my chickens before they hatched, right? I thought he was going to be on varsity, so I didn't plan to worry about Thursday night meetings. So some of these we've been able to make, some of them have been a little hit or miss. Tonight is a 2.5 hour game. I might be away. I am asking for y'all, just in case we don't get back in time to teach live, that you will give me a little bit of grace. I'm going to drop a link to last year's teaching of the same concept in the class, in the comments, and I'm going to give you a little droplet right now, and I'll set it up so that if I don't get back in time, this will re-air. Okay, so if you're watching this at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, that's why I'm not live, not responding to your comments. But if you are on live now, well, you're getting a special treat, because we're going to be talking about the myth of risk. And it's a really powerful lesson that will show you and explain why some people who should get what they deserve don't get the type of results that they're really capable of. It's like they could kind of just get it and they could grasp it, but you see over and over again that things don't work out when they should. We're not talking about somebody who's sitting on the couch, watching 5 hours of TV every night instead of trying to do something that'll better their life and help them achieve their goals. Okay. I've come to appreciate the value of relaxing, but I also know that there are many people out there who aren't trying to move their life forward. This is not for them. This is for you who've been trying and trying and trying. Okay. You've been trying and you don't understand why things aren't working, and start to make you feel kind of bad about yourself. But more and more every day, I'm coming to believe that there really aren't any hopeless cases. It's absolutely the opposite. Everyone has all the potential already gifted to them that they are going to need. And so it's not that we have a potential problem. It's the attitude that determines how much of the potential is going to be coached into skills and abilities, and then how many of those skills and abilities are turned into actions, and those actions become results. So it's not what can we do, but what will we do that counts. Okay. And although anybody can go to the process of turning their potential into the results that they want, most people never learn how to do it. They never learn how to do it effectively. They never learn how to do it decisively, purposefully. And so without even realizing what they're doing, they end up living a life that they don't want, on autopilot, never realizing that they got the world at their fingertips. It's such a shame. It's such a waste of talent, a waste of life. And I think a lot of times, because of this autopilot tendency, a lot of us don't even realize what we're doing to ourselves. It happens automatically. And we're different. We're different from all the other animals on the planet, right? Because we have been gifted with free will. We can choose. And I know we've talked about this before, right? But this is huge. It means that in every moment, we have the ability to choose not just what we're going to do. And if you stop and think about how many choices we make every day, oh my goodness, y'all, we are making choices every single moment. And some of these choices are conscious, like we're thinking about it. And some of them are unconscious. We just kind of go along our way, kind of like driving home from work and you wonder how you got there, right? But either way, we're not free from the consequences of those decisions, conscious or unconscious. It's a double-edged sword. It's a responsibility that goes along with free will. We're free to choose, but we're not free from the consequences of our choices. America's the land of the free, and there are more people here in every other country in the world who have stifled their freedom. Now, look, I'm not talking about how many people have their freedom stifled for, and that's a whole different conversation. You can go to my People Like Me project to hear more about that, right? But freedom is a responsibility. The choices we make are the result of a decision-making process, whatever that process is for you. And at some point, for most of us, that decision-making process stops being a point where we make the best decision we can out of all the options that we perceive as available to us. And it's because there comes a point where we have to decide whether or not to take a risk. And the earlier in that process that you decide that you are now going to call that decision-making process taking risks, the less successful you're going to be. It's simple as that. I know it sounds a little bit harsh, but it's true. There's only one way out, only one way to avoid this automatic pitfall. And that's what we're going to look at in this lesson. Now, I'm hoping, again, I'm going to be able to give you the full lesson. But me and my friend Camille, we talked about this when we did Think and Grow Rich last year. So I'm going to drop you a link. In fact, I'm going to drop you the link right now. I'm so excited about getting on the road for this game, y'all. I mean, you just don't know. If you've never been a parent who has had to make the choice between doing what your boss says to do or being there for your kid, and knowing that if you don't do what your boss says to do because you're in the military, you're going to jail. And if you've never been in that situation where you feel like, yeah, I got a choice, but the choices are ridiculous, then you don't understand my excitement that I get to be a mom to my kids and a wife to my husband. All right. Okay. I want you to today learn, or at least start the process of learning how to be that conscious co-creator of your life experience. Okay. It's how can you stay in the thrill of living in the moment on the edge of your emerging future, not dwelling in the fears of past mistakes and misjudgments, not projecting onto the future all the fears of everything we messed up in the past, not blaming the evil others. And yes, if anybody knows anything about my story, I got a lot of evil others in my story, but my future is not determined by them. It's determined by me. And so if you're listening to this today, I think you're going to love this concept. Okay. I think it's going to be a game changer. I think it's going to bring clarity to some of us today. All right. So I know that many of you are going to want to dig deeper. The link that I just posted that's going to take you to the preview from Think and Grow Rich. We are getting ready to start that back up. All right. So you will have an opportunity to dig deeper. I promise you. I'm just probably not going to make an offer today because I got to get on this road here soon. I hear my first alarm telling me, you got a few minutes before you got to get on the road. Okay. As I'm thinking about this, y'all, I can hear the voices of my childhood saying things like, be careful. You better know what you're getting yourself into. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to end up like so-and-so. It's kind of how I got married to the first guy. I was kind of told, you don't want to end up old and alone. Oh, my goodness. All right. Never mind. Not about me. What's another? Go ahead and drop some in the comments if you've heard some of these things. A bird hand is worth two in the bush, right? Yeah. And let me think. We hear a lot of things like this, and we didn't even give them any thought. We just tucked them away without any conscious consideration of the real meaning of what these phrases are. And most of us, when we heard them initially, we weren't even able to give it any thought because we weren't able to think that way at that young of an age when we heard those things. Okay. And so we couldn't challenge those ideas like we can as adults. And even if we could, we didn't challenge them because we trusted the people who were telling us those things in the first place. Respect your elders, right? They know better, right? The same thing I tell my son. Old people know stuff, so you better listen to me. These phrases, these concepts, they were spoken, or at least in my case, shouted at us, right? By good meaning, loving people loving people who had our best intent at heart. Yes, sometimes somebody spoke negativity into my life due to shade, but but the most powerful speaking into my life always came from the people who I thought had my best intention at heart, right? And it's the most natural thing. You got a loving parent, a loving uncle, teacher, somebody who's sharing their life's wisdom with us to help us, to protect us, and to keep us from harm. And at the same time, depending on how old we were, we could do nothing else but accept it. And today we're different. Today we're empowered. Whether you realize it or not, you are empowered. And so before we blindly pass by the same wisdom to our loved ones, before we play out the rest of our life under the influence and control of those early sound bites turned beliefs, maybe, just maybe, it might be a good idea to challenge some of that wisdom. Really think about whether or not it makes sense anymore, to think about whether or not this wisdom of our youth serves us today. And if we're going to use these linguistic metaphors as shortcuts in our thinking, right, to the degree that they determine our decision making and our behavior, which they do, should we not stop, at least for a moment, and really evaluate the truth and the wisdom and the effectiveness of the thinking? See, if there's a time when it may have served us and it may have served the people who imparted it to us, but left unchallenged, it could ultimately end up being part of our learning model of decision making. And I like to say there's a lot of things that aren't our fault. It's not our fault that these things were imparted to us, but it may not be your fault, but now it's your responsibility to check those beliefs and replace them with new productive ones if they're no longer serving you. And I really, as a scientist, I regret that I didn't even learn about all this stuff until my mid 30s, right? It's a part of the process of really thinking about thinking, of really considering where the wisdom came from in the first place. Where did it originate? From whom did it come from? And was it really their best thinking? And does it serve me? Is it serving me now? Was it really the wisdom of the person who imparted it to you? Was it your grandmother, your mother's, your father's, your auntie's original thought? Was it based on their real life experience? Or was it just something that they too accepted as a way of conduct because a person shouted at them? It reminds me of the story of someone making a ham, and they tell the story of their grand, and I forget who told me the story, but she was telling me the story of learning how to make a ham, and it was her first time making the big Thanksgiving dinner for her family, and her grandparents and aunties and everybody comes over, and she's so nervous and excited. You ever been nervous and excited, like you're taking on something that your foremothers and your forefathers have done, and now it's up to you to be grown, right? And so she takes the ham, she cuts off half of it, throws it away. And somebody asks her, "Why are you doing that?" She's like, "Well, I don't know. That's just how my mom taught me to do it." And then she says, because everybody's there, she asks Mom, "Well, Mom, why did you do that? What's the reason we do this?" And she says, "Well, I don't know. That's just how we always did it." And so grandma's there. Grandma's starting to fail in health, but she's there. Can't half see, but she's there, and she's enjoying the fact that everybody else is doting on her as the matriarch of the family, right? Well, so they asked Grandma, "Well, Grandma, why did you do that?" She said, "Well, we did that because the rest of it, because the part we threw away wouldn't fit in the pan." They were so poor back then. They had this teeny tiny little house and these teeny tiny little pans, and that's all they had. And so that's what they did. They didn't have a fridge. They didn't have a way to keep it. They chopped it and threw it out, or chopped it and gave it away, I think, as the story comes out. But at the kids' mind, all that was stuck in the kids' mind and the kids' mind and the next generation's kids' mind is cut this off and keep this part and throw that part away. Now, y'all know there's a lot of good eating on the rest of the ham, right? And so I want to challenge you today. Have you ever really thought about when, why, how A generalized concept becomes so widely accepted as a process for thinking in your family that now it goes unchecked and unchallenged, as though it's been given thought immunity for the rest of time, for all future generations. For all future generations, the way we gonna handle money is we get our paycheck and we spend it all partying and having a good time for the weekend, and then we hope and pray and rob Peter to pray Paul to make it to the next paycheck. How many of the things and the ways and the thoughts that we live in were statements and ideas and thoughts that were passed on to us as a shortcut to parenting and open dialogue on some of life's important lessons, right? It's kind of like, you know, my mom sitting us down in front of the TV to watch cartoons or listen to something so she could get some peace and quiet. Wait a second. I don't think my mom did that because my parents didn't believe in a lot of TV. I think I do that. Yeah, I think I'm her. I'm that mom. But imagine sitting down for 3 hours trying to explain the concepts of decision and consequences and an accepted linguistic metaphor like better be safe than sorry, right? To a 5-year-old. I mean, like, I'm home with the kids and they want to go swim and I'm trying to get stuff done. And they're like, can we go out and swim? And I'm busy, right? So I look out the window, I see the clouds, and I'm like, nope, it looks like it's gonna be a storm. And you all know Cubby, he does not miss a beat. Smart kid, very analytical. He's probably going to hit that age of reason well before his 12-year-old because he grabs stuff. He'll be like, "Well, it's not raining." And I'm like, "No. There might be night. And I'm basically saying, "Go away because I got to get this done." Right? There might be lightning. You can't go to the pool if there might be a storm. Lightning's dangerous, right? And so as you hear this, ask yourself, how easy is it for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old to accept that clouds are dangerous or believe that you can't swim when it's cloudy because lightning might get you? It's frightening to know how easy it is to soak these kinds of things up. And let's face it, the application of this better safe than sorry concept, it was meant to prevent us from killing ourselves or somebody else, right? To make, that I'm sure that's one of the main reasons it was used and programmed in my little mind. But what else is programmed into my little mind? Sure, when crossing the street, it's better to be safe than sorry. When deciding to jump off the light post down onto the ground because you can't figure out how else to get down, well, you know what? It sure was better to be safe than sorry. In fact, I remember that day as a second grader in Okinawa, realizing that, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, wow, I did this, but next time I climb up here, I better have an exit strategy. And I'm sitting at the top of the light pole, being laughed at by the other kids who I was trying to impress because I can't get down, and I start crying and waiting for somebody to come help. Y'all, you know what? That's actually good advice in business too, right? You buy some real estate, you ought to have 2 or 3 exit strategies before you buy them, right? But as a second grader, I didn't have that awareness. And I really believe that those were the times, the conditions, the circumstances when the people who spoke into my life, whether it was my mom, dad growing up, my military mentors as a young adult, people wanted me to operate from the learning model of it is better to be safe than sorry. But the problem is they never explained to me that this strategy, this rule of thumb for decision making had limits. In fact, if I use it for a strategy for making all my quote unquote risky decisions, it would lead me down a path that's exactly opposite of its original intention, which is to protect me and keep me safe. It would, in fact, hurt me, hold me back, jeopardize my future more so than any outside conditions or circumstances that people originally wanted to protect me from. It was not intended to hold us back, but that's exactly what it does. Just like if me and my absent-minded parenting, now you can't go outside, it's cloudy, it's going to rain, it's going to have lightning, lightning's bad, could impart to Cubby something entirely different from what I'm trying to accomplish as a busy mom. We have the gift of discernment and we need to use it occasionally. The gift of discernment is really the gift of observation. You see more, and you see more before. And I think about decisions that I made that defy logic, such as to spend money on mentoring or even a class like this when I was working 3 jobs just to survive and sleeping in my car, right? Like something in my spirit said, do it. And that discernment, logic would have said, safe than sorry. And that mentoring, that course opens so many doors of opportunity worth thousands. And so what's good logic in one situation and circumstance is bad logic or risky in another. It's like moths and electric lights, right? So when you have a light and it's a star and it's a million light years away, you can use that for navigating. But when the lights are electric lights 10 feet away and you try to use them to navigate, you end up like a moth just spiraling right into it. So logic that works in one scenario can be deadly in another. We have to really think about where my beliefs around come from. And having retired from the military, I can see that there are a lot of people that were my coworkers at the end of our careers. We went from majors getting ready to change the world. All of a sudden we got promoted. Now everybody's risk averse. Don't rock the boat. Get along to go along, right? And so we have to challenge some of these beliefs around risk taking. Is it reliable? Are these beliefs reliable and do they still work for us? Because there's different types of risk. I mean, we have to stop and think, when was the last time we really evaluate our thought process around risk? When was the last time we really challenged our aversion to risk taking? When the evaluate the beliefs that support and drive that process. And if you're like me at all, before I came into this new awareness, I never challenged anything. It never even occurred to me that I had to have a strategy or a process to evaluate. I mean, life was just life, right? And that, my friends, lies one of the biggest problems we all face. And that's a lack of awareness about these things. Okay. It's a lack of awareness about these things. Michael Beckwith said that choice is a function of awareness. And so, how you do everything, it's part of a learning model. It's your learning model. It's unique to you and your beliefs and your level of awareness. How you get dressed, how you eat, how you answer your phone, how you drive your car, walk your dog, raise your children, put your pants on, how you interact with family and friends. Everything is a program process. And if you don't like the results you're getting, you got to tweezer apart that learning model and identify the beliefs that are holding it together. This will help us to expand our awareness. This will help you to expand your awareness of the potential that you have to create new lives, a new belief, a new life, a new circumstance, a new outcome, a new result beyond what you have now. And then once you've done that, you identify the principles within a new that you create to create the life that you. And so we have to be in a place where we can observe, well, what models work for other people. Okay. So when we go into our Think and Grow Rich class, and it's going to be a fun one this year because I'm going to come at it from an alternate aspect this year. I'm excited about what I'm putting together for you. But I'm going to have to stop there because that over there, I don't know if you can hear, but that's my drop dead alarm to get on this road. My other alarm was 10 minutes ago. Get on the road to this game. So look, so again, like I said in the beginning, for those of you who came on late, if I don't get time to teach the rest of this lesson today, I hope that you will grant me the grace to honor my promise to my son rather than my promise to my pocketbook and watch the replay from last year's teaching. I've dropped it into the comments. And if you're watching on YouTube or some of the other channels, you'll see that link already embedded in the description for this video today. All right, that's all I have for y'all today. I'm JJ Conway. Y'all take care and be blessed.